Even historical events are very difficult to put in perspective until some time has passed. I'm sure Paul saw his road to Damascus as an endpoint, and much more quickly than others did. And I'm sure many people in the church were suspicious of him for some time to come because they weren't sure if that was a genuine endpoint or not. But looking back over time, we can obviously say that was not just an endpoint, it was the beginning of something important. God says, now you're going to be used as a vessel for me. It was the end of one thing, best left behind, but it's the beginning of something very important. And God used Paul after that point. Looking at our own experience, I certainly, in my lifetime, the fall of the Soviet Union was an endpoint. Not because the Soviet Union was particularly important, but think of it well into my adulthood, the future was thought of on human terms as the possibility of world communism led by the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union collapsed, that fell apart, and we had to start thinking of the future in different terms. So God put an end to our thinking, certainly, because of the collapse of the Soviet Union. He dissolved that as a power that was not going to control the future. So it gave us the opportunity to look forward to other things in the development of history. I think perhaps we're seeing the weakness that is evident in Russia, the problems that the Chinese Communist Party is having. They appear to be nearing the end of their rope in some ways. When they collapse, we can hope that much better things are going to be happening in those countries that will serve the kingdom of God rather than oppose it, as is particularly the case in the Chinese Communist Party. So sometimes we need the perspective of history viewed from a bit of a distance to understand what is in fact an ending point and when something new is really beginning. And this is why we can take comfort in the fact that God is on the throne and God is sovereign. He's actually in control of this. He's directing this. And yet we have difficulty even understanding how things are happening. My father, as we've often said, we're living at the end of the age of humanism. It's collapsing around us. And so he called on Christians to come up with something better, to rebuild, to reconstruct, and create their own society based upon faithfulness to God, to build on a firmer foundation. And so, yes, there are many ending points. God just puts an end to our nonsense periodically. What comes of it, we can't always tell until some time has transpired.